Yes, ma'am.
Catching cheating board members.
Catching what?
Cheating board members.
Oh, I thought you were saying like catching AIDS or something.
I want to go
Okay.
back to that. I want to have a plan. So I created my board.
Like this?
Yes. I went through the whole step thing, and I told them no meeting without me. And then
they had a meeting without you.
And then I catch them.
You're talking like you caught a cheating husband or something. You've had that experience too.
Yeah. So I had a plan. I need.
It's like that the sun didn't come up. I mean, everybody, you know, what happened? No, this is not a Ruski deal. You're going to have to get new people. You're going to have to come out of your shell and get new people. Accountants, now, Simon figured out that there's 2 shortcuts in the QLA model. In 28 years, there's only been that many people that have figured them out. Less than that. You have the accountant get your outside accountants, and you have your lawyer get your outside. Like he said, he gave them the template. Because sometimes the kids have sent their accountant or lawyer out to me, and then the accountant and the lawyer don't follow the template, and they say, you know, this is a long shot, I'm not sure if it's going to work, blah, 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 instead of being positive. So you can. Now, all the in-house accountant, the CFO, may not want to do that. I can force them, but I would not recommend you force them. But during the interviewing process for the board, and it's in one of the templates. Down the road, when we're bringing in outside accountants, you feel comfortable being the head of the interviewing process. I say, oh yeah, I'd love to do that. Or, well, then you probably got the wrong CFO because you've hired somebody like you, a little introvert. Same thing with a lawyer. When we're in the process of finding our delayed fee lawyers, you have a problem with heading up the interviewing process. They'll say, yes, is this a Montenegro kind of question or an engineering question or the difference between 8.5 and 12 million? Okay. No. And if you had read the material on my website, you'd already know the answer to that. No. See, you want to spread your wings. You want to spread your Venus flytrap. And that meaning you want other people, you want additional professionals. You know, Wallace Simpson, who got the king to abdicate back here, 70, 80 years ago, made a famous statement, you can never be too thin or too rich, okay? You can never have too many financial contacts, professional contacts. Your Rolodex, you need to know they don't use that anymore. Your tablet, or wherever you keep your contacts, can never be too big. And most of you have no contacts, or next to none. And, by the time you exit the first time, you're going to build up 100, 200, 300 financial and professional contacts. By the time you exit a second time, you'll have 500 or 1,000 contacts. And by the time you exit the first time, almost all of you will not be as introverted. Some of you will just still be introverted, but by the time you exit 3 or 4 times, you can't be as introverted as you are now. You just can't, because you will not have been able to meet all these people and interface with all these people and talk to all these people and make presentations and sell and still be as introverted as some of the people are. Okay, so now you've asked your lawyer, and he can get outside lawyers, and he will explain, or she will explain, the delayed fees like they brush their teeth, having a cup of tea, okay? And if you have the right people, like Andrea said, our in-house lawyer, who's just he's a world-class guy from Slaughter and May, and he said, well, you're not as good, and he whacked the shit out of their fees, and they do all these other things that you wouldn't do in the first couple of meetings. The first meeting with these outside people is normally you. The second meeting is you and your lawyer or you and your accountant. And now some of you, I don't think anybody's in mining here, but if you're mining, you're going to have mining engineers. You may have oil and gas engineers. So there will be other professionals in addition to the lawyers and accountants. Yes, ma'am.
Particular ethnic groups to focus on?
Did you say ethnic?
Yeah, well...
No, I know a bunch of ethnic groups to stay away from. I mean, if you're in that part of the world, you're going to have, some 1 or 2 Middle Easterners if you're there. If you're in the African continent, you're going to have 1 or 2, black people. If you're in South America, you're going to have 1 or 2. You should have a woman, not because I'm being PC, because they do add a different perspective. And women don't fuck around as much, and they're good project leaders because of the multitasking I discussed the first day. But you want you want to spread. You don't want to spread of intellect because you want them all to be smart. You're not bringing retard from here, even though I call everybody retard. But you don't want to go out and find somebody that you know is for sure stupid. By accident, you find those people, and as soon as you realize you make a mistake, exit them. Yes, sir, in the back.
If you have a company that has value now and you're going to bolt on, you're not getting rid of it.
Correct.
When you're bringing on your board members, are you charging them that value or even maybe like a discounted value for those shares?
No. I say it tomorrow, but I'll say it today. Okay. Let's say you've got a company that's worth $100 million. from my lips to God's ears. Okay, you got a company worth $100 million already, and so you will have most probably audited accounts, and those audited accounts will have a net worth. Bottom line, they will, and the options are based on what the current, not the enterprise value, the pie in the sky value, but the actual book value. And let's just say the book value of the company is $50 million, and the option, like Marcus and me, perfect example. We round him up to 500 million. I'm a big spender because I know I'm going to take it to 5 billion. So from 500 million up, I get a percentage of whatever in options of whatever the company grows. If he was only 10 million, it would be whatever the company grows to from 10 million. Effective some date. The easiest date is December 31, closest. But it should, for the future, coincide with the date that you have accounts, numbers to prove what the value is. And they're options. They're not equity shares. They're options. So let's just say the options are $10 a share now, and when we grow to $100 a share, I will pay the tax difference between $10 a share and $100 a share when I exercise. The differences in founders' equity, it's normally zero basis because you're starting from scratch. The directors teased me because I had $820 in. So my shares basis was 0.000082 cents. And so theirs was 0.00 because they had no money in the deal. And so, but I mean, that's close enough to zero. Everybody paid tax accordingly. And the proper way, when they decide to sell some shares after public or exercise their options, is they call you, the founder, and they say, Leanne, is it all right? I'd like to sell 5% of my stock. That's the proper way. Now, the kids now, they sometimes, because they're free, I mean, they just go fuck up the market. So then you call the market maker, Leanne, whatever gophers would call up the market maker and say, so-and-so is going to sell some of his shares, 200,000-300,000 shares of his shares, and make sure there's a market for him and there's a bid and ad, blah, blah, so it doesn't knock the shit out of the shares. That's the proper way, okay? And almost everybody understands that, okay? But some of the kids don't. So you will incentivize the people through either shares directly or options, and the employees that Simon alluded to, key employees, he will be giving them options, not shares. Because the company's already got, a net worth of maybe a couple $1 million, couple million euros, and so they'll get those down the road. And there are various programs that I alluded to, the kind that they have to stay to exit with you, the kind that they can exit when you're public, and as long as they ask your permission. And you'll work it out with the best program. You heard what the Goomba brothers do. They want them to exit everybody together and not them. Give them what I call the free choice. As long as they notify you when they're going to sell, I don't mind the free choice. And we're going to talk about IPOs and stuff like that. They sound like the gilt-edged panacea, but they're not, because there's all kinds of restrictions. And it's extremely expensive to do an IPO now. 10 to 20% of the market value. And the smaller the IPO, the more expensive it is. If you've got a $10 billion IPO, expenses are de minimis. But if you've got a $100 million IPO, they're high. They're high. And if you sold as the major shareholder, or you went public as the major shareholder, you're going to have what's called restrictive stock, stiff stock, they call it. Stiff because they shove it up your ass. That's why it's called stiff stock. It's Rule 144. You have to get permission in America through the SEC. And they will probably allow you to sell only 10% of your shares in an IPO, and you got to keep 90% of your share. And then there's only 8 times a public company in America you can sell stock. They're not in the black period because we report in America 4 times a year. 30 days before reporting and 30 days after reporting are considered black periods. You can't sell stock. You can sell stock in between them. In this country, there's 4 black periods. 30 days before and 30 days after. And you will not be able to sell all your shares. That's why I like strategic sales, because most likely you're going to be able to dump all the shit on somebody 100% right away. And then you run like a thief in the night, and do it again. But there is a lot of fun being the head of a public company, as I was for almost 10 years. But I mean, if you can't realize and get the money. Now, when they threw me out, nobody felt sorry for me. I had, 18 million shares. I mean, I had a lot of money. It hurt my ego more than my pocketbook. It didn't hurt my pocket. Actually, it was good for my pocketbook because all my stock became liquid on day one. So I could sell all my shares on day one. When I was the chairman CEO, I couldn't do that because another thing is when Leanne and or her husband decide to sell shares, it's a bad sentiment to the market. Why are they selling shares? Don't they believe in the company anymore? Are they leaving? Are they getting a divorce? As Mitchell cut their throats? I mean, so, and then your PR guys are they're telling stories. Everything's fine. And people don't leave to pursue other interests. People leave because they get thrown out. And a lot of these guys and gals, all of a sudden they're ill, okay? And then I believe they're not really ill. Or they're ill, maybe appear, but they're not physically ill. But that's why I like strategic exits, because you get almost all your money. The founder may have to keep in 10 or 20% if a strategic buyer, and he may be asked to stay 6 or 12 or 18 months. But the rest of us get to run like thieves in the night. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. So we've talked about this directly or indirectly for the last 4 days. Again, the chairman is the most important person. Chairperson, whatever the hell they call him now. And he can make or break your deal, your company, and your fucking net worth. So you got to choose wisely. But in the beginning, if you see you made a mistake, don't wait around. Because the longer they're in that position, the more powerful they get. And the more power they have with the professionals, the lawyers and the accountants. And we read one email yesterday, I believe it was, how they overran the guy. Another story I'm going to tell you, not a story, I don't have an email to show it. One of you is walking down Piccadilly in London, and he passes one of the many Starbucks, and he sees his chairman, his CEO, and his CFO sitting at a table. Obviously, well, they either just bumped into each other, serendipity, or they're having a meeting, right? And he didn't go in and confront him. He walked down the street with his tail between his legs, and the next day, they cut his head off. I would have, you don't want to know what I would have done, but anyway, anybody that's got half a brain, what are you guys doing in here? One of the things I highly recommend is when you start is that you say there are no meetings at the board level without notification to me. You're copied on all internal board emails or memos or whatever you call them. And that's part of their contract. And if they don't buy off on that, then something's not right. We just had a guy who just did his first big deal, and one of the board members decides he has other interests and he wants to spend more time with his family and his grandkids. The day after, and by the way, how are you going to value my shares when you buy me out? That was kind of like a throwaway PS at the bottom. And I happen to be a chairman of this company, and I told the you in the deal, tell him to go fuck himself. There's no value, but he can pay us to take the shares back. That's our starting position. Yes, sir.
If you're running across borders, international borders, whose timeline are you operating on in terms of meetings and stuff?
Normally the chairman's, okay? The boards I have the privilege of chairing, it's my timeline. It's the UK. And when I travel, if I'm in the US, it's the US timeline. Or for when next time that when I go to Australia, it'll be Australian time. And almost all the board members are going to be older than me, okay? And again, I already said they have nothing to do with all day to do it in. And so they're going to, they want meetings, meet on the golf course. I don't suggest you do that. I've told you, my mentors, QLABots and I, you have to have something in common with your chairman, especially if he's going to be your mentor as well, other than business. QLABots and I was, Michelin star restaurants, fine wine, cigars. Jim Newman, the author of Release Your Rigs, it was tennis. I used to be a pretty good tennis player. And Jerry Orman was golf. I was a pretty good golfer. I was a very good golfer. And so we had those things in common. So when I used to come to the United States, I'd stop off and see QLABots on NASA shipping, and we go to, normally the Grand Wee. And then I come through Dallas to see Jerry Orman, and then I go through Los Angeles to see Jim Newman. So my trips were extended 3 to 5 days whenever I traveled, because I saw those guys. And then laterally, when Governor Kerry became like another mentor to me, he was in New York, so I could see he and Costa. This is before the internet was prevalent, but you're going to be able to do a lot of this contacting with you, keeping the board members updated, written or on these video things, and you're going to get one of those sample links from Thomas, and Thomas does an excellent job communicating. And as long as they feel in the loop, because they know deals crater, they know people quit, they know people get fired a lot more than you because they've had 40-year careers, 50 or not 40, but 20 to 40-year careers. And they know you'll feel that you haven't accomplished anything, so you'll be hesitant to send them off an update because you think you're falling by the wayside, and they'll know that these things take time. As long as they're kept in the loop, even when I'm not suggesting you're going to crater 2 or 3 deals, but if God forbid you crater 2 or 3 deals, they'll understand. And they know. No, I don't do this. Oh, I understand. But they send a soothing sentence or two. I'm not much of a soother myself. I'll just say, okay, retard, keep pushing. That's as soothing as I get. But I almost always respond. And you may do a $1 billion deal, and all I'll say is, terrific. That's it, you know. And here in Britain, they always want to pop champagne. I mean, you do something that's reasonably okay, they want to have champagne. I wasn't much into that. Sally's into that part, being English. Okay, so now you, yes ma'am.
Catching cheating board members.
Catching what?
Cheating board members.
Oh, I thought you were saying like catching AIDS or something.
I want to go
okay.
back to that. I want to have a plan. So I created my board.
Like this?
Yes. I went through the whole step thing, and I told them no meeting without me. And then
they had a meeting without you.
And then I catch them.
You're talking like you caught a cheating husband or something. You've had that experience too.
Yeah. So I had a plan. I need to have.
Okay, you have a plan. Okay. So what's your plan?
So my plan is, if it's written in my board documents, no cheat, no.
Well, they're not going to put no cheating.
Well, no meeting without me.
Yeah.
So if
you can have that.
There,
you can have all board meetings have to be inclusive of all board members. That's how they'd write it. They wouldn't say don't exclude the founding Russian bitch.
Yeah.
You know, they wouldn't have it like that. All board meetings have to be inclusive of the founder.
Okay, and then they didn't listen. I caught them. What do I do?
Well, it depends what the next sentence says. You know, subject to, being thrown off. They will use a better word than thrown off the board. They may even be able to put in subject to you reclaiming the shares, as long as it's in the document. But the problem is, if you're already, the problem that I foresee, and accountants will say, is that if it's already got worth and they have to give the shares back, it's a taxable event. So, but I would gladly, to get the shares, I'd gladly pay the tax on it, because it's going to be worth a lot more than the tax I'm paying. Some of you people in here, in a bank, I'm not positive, but I'm almost positive that could be a transaction. If it's a lot of money, if it's 50 grand, 40 grand, a bank's not going to fucking loan you the money. But I mean, if it's millions, etc., I'm sure to get control back of a meaningful amount of shares, the bank will loan you, the company, the money. You understand what I just said? In the back, yes sir. Okay, YouTube, we can't give you too much, leave it on. We can't give you too much secret sauce, YouTube. Otherwise, these kids don't have an advantage. They have an advantage because you're retarded and you're there and they're here. Goodbye. Go ahead.